just see that everyone's wired in a different way when they're born. And I was just wired to want to know the truth without being fooled into it in any capacity. So I guess an example of this would just be my parents would always say that they had to sort of close the door and laugh when I was a toddler because I was constantly asking them questions like I was just this precocious child. And I feel like I was always looking out for my sisters in the same capacity, like telling them that this adult couldn't be trusted, or they weren't telling us the truth over something that probably was completely meaningless. But I think it just spoke to my natural character. And so when I got into politics and I recognized that the same thing was happening, that people were reaching this level of popularity where they suddenly felt that they just wanted to stay comfortable and they were no longer reaching to reveal the truth to their audiences, it was a tremendous letdown for me. Genuinely, it was a tremendous letdown for me. And so yesterday's episode didn't come without thought. It was a discussion rather that I was having with my family, with my sisters, with my husband, when I started stumbling upon deeper and deeper truth and much of it just being so obscured from the public. Should we bring this forward? Do we want to be the people that bring this forward? Do we want to be the people that put our lives at risk, that put our reputation at risk? And I just know that there has been a lot that's been happening in the world, but I felt very much that the signs were there, that the public was ready, and that I was ready to sort of deliver this information. And so I want to jump right back into that discussion that we were having really about spiritualism. And I'm going to use not a current event, but a recent current event that happened a couple of years ago. You will remember this because I think it might have been the craziest moment from 2022. So Kyrie Irving, at the time, he still might be a basketball player for the Brooklyn Nets, tweeted a link to a documentary, absent commentary. He didn't tweet this and say, I agree with this. He didn't tweet this and say, I disagree with this. He just tweeted a link to a readily available documentary that was on Amazon, and he said nothing. And the next thing you knew, he was a mainstream story, and he was at risk of losing his job as a basketball player. And the title of the documentary was From Hebrews, to Negroes. And if he had just tweeted it and the media didn't react with such insanity, probably no one would have watched it. I'm serious. It was a nothing thing, but they made such a big deal out of it that I remember watching the situation go down and going, okay, what is in this documentary that people are freaking out so much that the NBA has given him, you'll recall this, a list of 6 demands, a list of 6 action items that he must complete in order to return to the franchise, okay? Absurd. Do you remember this headline that was going on? This is what Kyrie Irving must do to get his life back for having tweeted out a link to a documentary that's available on Amazon. Not Jeff Bezos, but Kyrie Irving is at fault. Not Jeff Bezos for making it readily available on Amazon. The first set of things that he had to do, the first thing he had to do was he had to issue an apology for posting a link to the movie, condemn the harmful and false content, and make it clear that he does not have anti-Jewish beliefs. Secondly, he had to complete the anti-hate causes that the Irving and the Nets and the ADL, I'll keep that topic, we're going to talk more about the ADL today, agreed upon in their joint release, which included a $500,000 donation toward causes and organizations that work to eradicate hate and intolerance in communities. He was then told he had to complete sensitivity training created by the Nets. He was then told he had to complete anti-Semitic, anti-hate training designed by the Nets, and meet with representatives from the ADL as well as Jewish community leaders in Brooklyn. And the last one was after completing steps 1 through 5, he had to meet with the owner of the Nets, Joe Tsai, and lead franchise officials and demonstrate the lessons that he learned. Okay, so this was just like a whipping, a public whipping. It made entirely no sense. And I don't think he actually ended up doing any of that because then there was outrage and outcry, rightfully so, from the black community going, what are you doing right now? What did he do that was so wrong? And of course, because of the way my brain works, when I see the media overreact, I just go, what's in this documentary? I mean, I think that's called the Streisand effect. Like when you go so crazy about something that people wouldn't have noticed, then suddenly go, okay, well, what am I not supposed to see in this documentary? And I, of course, instantly watched it. And it was, by the way, very poorly put together, which is why it made it even crazier. It seems like a very budget film that was put together. It looks almost like a PowerPoint, to be honest. And I remember watching this going, how could this documentary have caused this much craziness in the media? And then I realized that the point of the documentary that it was making that upset, and this is why the ADL got involved, was the documentary makers, that is, were alleging that the current Jewish people that are in Israel are not, in fact, biblical Jews, and instead that the people that were brought over in the transatlantic slave trade from Africa to America were the original Hebrews, okay? So parking aside whether or not you agree with that, I